In life, whatever we want to learn it faster. Whether it is to learn how to play guitar or how to speak English fluently, we want to master the skill in the least possible time. According to Malcolm Gladwell in his best-selling book Outliers, who was referring to a 1993 study published by the American Psychological Association, it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become an expert. But it doesn't take 10,000 hours to learn something. It takes 10,000 hours to become a tip-top performer in a highly competitive field. That 1993 study was looking at professional athletes and world-class chess players, not people who want to learn how to play songs on the guitar. So here are some few smart ideas to help you learn something faster. Smart idea number 1. Break into parts and apply 80-20 rule. Henry Ford once said, "Nothing is particularly hard if you divide it into small jobs." The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, states that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. That means 80% of sales come from 20% of products. Let's say you want to learn how to play the guitar. You can break that skill down into components like reading music, proper posture, proper finger placement, learning scales, learning chords, finger picking, and so on. So which are the most important? You might argue that learning common chords and the finger placement for those chords are two of the most important skills. Since knowing only a few chords mean you will be able to play a ton of songs. So first you need to focus on learning only these two things, that is learning common chords and the finger placement, because that will give you 80% result. Smart idea number 2. Learn from an actual expert. No matter what skill you want to accomplish, there's likely someone out there who is already good at it. The fastest way to get good at something yourself is to find a person who is already getting the results you want. Figure out how they got to where they are and model your own journey after theirs. If you don't know anyone personally who is an expert at the skill you want to learn, then you will have to do some research. Use your network, spend some time searching online, and you will likely start seeing some names come up over and over again, who you can then study upon. There are a ton of different possibilities for how to learn from someone who has already gotten where you want to be, and thanks to the internet, you have a world of resources available to you. Smart idea number 3. Learn from multiple sources. Studies show that the more different ways you experience a piece of information, the more likely you are to retain it. Why? Because different media activate different parts of our brain. And when several different parts of our brains are working at once, we can retain knowledge better and remember things more quickly. So don't just read books and articles related to your skill. Try listening to audiobooks, watching videos, using apps to practice, and even jotting down notes as you learn. Try to involve all your 5 senses in your learning program. Smart idea number 4. 30% research, 70% practice. You can spend all the time you want reading about how to shoot a soccer ball, but when you get out there on the pitch, don't expect to have a perfect shot on your first try. You know what they say? Practice makes perfect. Our brains evolved to learn by doing things, not by hearing about them. If you want to say memorize a passage, it's better to spend 30% of your time reading it and the other 70% of your time testing yourself on that knowledge. We should learn enough in theory to be able to recognize mistakes and to self-correct it. Once we reach that point, we can move on to focusing most of our time practicing. Smart idea number 5. Get immediate feedback. According to Gladwell in his book Outliers, what really separated the Beatles, an English rock band formed in Liverpool in 1960, from other bands at the time wasn't just practicing. It was that they got in front of live audiences as much as they could in order to get immediate feedback on their performance. Feedback can come from a mentor, a coach, a friend, from many different sources, depending on the skill you are learning. But the point of it is for you to learn where you are making mistakes that you don't know you are making, and learn the correct or alternative strategies. The quicker you are able to get feedback and correct your form and mistakes, the quicker you will improve. Smart idea number 6. Give yourself deadlines. There is a law called Parkinson's law. It goes like this. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. Remember that paper in your college you had all semester to write? and yet you ended up writing the whole thing the weekend before it was due? Yeah, that was Parkinson's Law. The trick to turning Parkinson's Law in your favor is to set deadlines for yourself. When you give yourself less time to get something done, it will make you do it more efficiently and you will end up wasting much less time. Smart idea number 7. Don't quit after the honeymoon phase. When we experience the opportunity to learn something new, we enter what many people call the honeymoon phase. This is where we experience release of dopamine as we experience new things. In other words, we are hardwired to appreciate and seek out novelty because it makes us feel good. But when the honeymoon phase fades, well, that's when we experience the dip. Our progress slows, we get frustrated, and many of us quit. Now the question is how to overcome it. Remember that it doesn't take 10,000 hours to get good at something. It takes 10,000 hours to become a tip-top performer in a highly competitive field. According to Josh Kaufman, the best-selling author of the book named The Personal MBA, to get good at something, it takes about 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice. So once you get into the practicing phase, make a commitment to practice for at least 20 hours before even thinking about quitting. Now 20 hours is a lot less than 10,000 hours, but it's still a big time commitment to crave out our busy lives. It's the equivalent of about 40 minutes per day for a month. That time commitment is the part where people have the most trouble, but it's also the key to success. It's not necessarily fun to practice the same skill over and over again day after day. People tend to hit what Kapman calls the frustration barrier, which is when we feel like we are not improving quickly despite committing a lot of time and effort. This is where we lose confidence and it's where we tend to quit. That frustration is a barrier to our progress. But if you pre-commit to spending at least 20 hours practicing the skill, you will have a much better shot at sticking it out through those moments of frustration. Always remember, practice makes perfect. At last, a little request to you. If you find this video useful in finding any kind of solution for your life problems, then please share it with your loved ones, because by sharing, you can also help to change someone's life. And please let us know by commenting below on which topic you would like to watch the next video, because our main aim is to help you. More wisdom, more solution, better life.